Well,
Yeah,
and John, how old did you say? How old did you say he was, John?
He's born in 1958. I mean, I'm sorry, he's born in 1966, which makes him 58.
Well, and Andrew McCabe, when you're hearing that, the profile, as we're learning more about this, John just mentioned the extensive social media postings that obviously investigators are going through, but also this is a person who has a criminal record that's been arrested 8 times, John said, for minor offenses. What else are officials looking into when it comes to something like that?
Well, it's really the whole picture they want, Caitlin. They want to know not only where this guy was from and what motivated him this day, but like kind of what was his journey that brought him to this point, because it tells us a lot about extremism generally. It tells us a lot about threat, the sort of things that, you know, for instance, in this case, Secret Service maybe needs to think more about in terms of the protection of the former president. But the small clues, like the fact that he's been arrested 8 times, might mitigate against the likelihood of his having had significant military experience, unless those things happened after his military experience. It seems from the details that John's been able to provide, the most really relevant
There's been another one.
are those comments about having served in Ukraine. That could form the basis of some sort of grievance or political or ideological philosophy that would put him could put him in conflict with the former president. So that's something that investigators will dig into. You know, while it's not necessary to prove someone's motive when in the course of a prosecution, it can be very helpful in proving their intent. And intent is an element of every crime. You always have to prove that the person you've charged intended to commit the crime that they've been charged with. Here, they're going to look for pieces of evidence that clearly lay out his reason for being in the bushes with an AK-47, looking at the golf course, was because he was targeting the advanced shooter might have taken to clean their social media accounts before they actually took some sort of action. If he's left this stuff out there and it's still visible for the general public to see, there's going to be a lot of evidence for investigators to kind of sort through to understand exactly what was making him tick today.
You know, it's interesting, and I want to bring
suspicious.
Chief Ramsey into this as well. Chief, what jumped out at you from the details that John Miller is now reporting about this suspect?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. First of all, now we have a name and an age, and that's critically important because that we didn't have before. But facts like you just finished talking to Andy about, his attitude toward the war in Ukraine, the fact that he claims he fought there and was recruiting people to go fight.
No, I'm not saying this is made up. I'm just saying the way that they released that statement to me felt like it was meant to create
aspect of this. I mean, he's 58 years old and to have
chaos.
A social media footprint. Not that older people don't, but you know, it shows that he's very active.
We're certainly
on,
not being
social media. He did have a GoPro, so he was planning on filming himself.
You know, good actors.
And he wanted to leave that behind. In my opinion,
there's an assassination attempt on a president. This is how they say.
All these things are, I think, important.
That's
clues,
how they handle it.
But the most important clues are going to come from the execution of those search warrants,
causing more
and
questions
the
and
evidence they're
answers.
able to gather from his home, a business, interviewing friends, family, smartphones, all those kinds of things. That's where the evidence is going to really come from, and that's what they're actively working right now. And now that his name is out there, obviously there's going to be a lot of interest in tracking down friends and relatives of this individual.
Well, and Wolf, just as we're reporting on this and we are getting new information by the moment, I also just want to report some more news that I'm hearing from sources and that our colleagues have also confirmed, which is that in recent days, the Trump campaign was briefed by U.S. intelligence officials about new indications that Iran was planning to increase its attempt to attack former President Donald Trump and those around him. We're hearing this from sources. This is something that was briefed to the Trump campaign. I should note, and I want to be very clear here, we don't know that this new intelligence and this new briefing that the Trump campaign got about this attempt by Iran to escalate its attack on Donald Trump is it all related to this second attempted assassination that happened today on his golf course. But it does speak to the threat environment that is facing him and has been facing him for several months now, as we learned earlier this summer about these attempts. I'm told that this is related to both the physical and also a potential cyber attack, Wolf. And I just want to get back to you.
What is it? Okay, first off, Caitlin Collins is totally in bed with the Trump campaign. It's how she got her start. When there was the first, when Joe Biden dropped out, who did he call? He called Caitlin Collins. So they are like in lockstep. They need one another. Okay. So I don't know what the fuck Iran
into a very
wanting to do anything has to do with this.
Diverse threats that are facing our political leadership today. And, you know, the fact that they've been briefed on these threats means that the intelligence community considers them credible and reliable, and things that they feel like the Secret Service and those engaged in protecting the former president really need to take action on. And so this brings us back to the conversation we had a little while ago, where we were commenting on how is it that this could happen 2 times in just a couple of months, and that someone could get this close to the president from, you know, just kind of
JD Vance say this is just a fact of life
through the fence at the golf course. There is always a tension between protectees and the protective service, particularly when the protectee is someone who's running for office. They want to be available. They want to be within reach and interacting with the general public. They don't want to typically project an image that looks, you know, fearful of threats and like hyper-focused on security. On the other hand, the Secret Service would typically like to lock down every detail they possibly could and never let the protectee, in this case, the former president, leave the house. I mean, obviously, neither one of those extremes is going to happen. You have to find some sort of balance in the middle. But you could really see some changes in the way
the world
that Donald
created,
Trump
as far as I'm
conducts
concerned,
himself in the next couple of months as a result of
both
this.
of the gunmen use guns that we want to ban,
not
and they refuse to
spending
ban.
quite so much time on the golf course in places in the wide open where you could really be accessed or seen, create those opportunities of line of sight. Or you may see a massive bolstering of resources
Also,
around
not
the
for
perimeter
nothing,
of that golf course.
They're going to try to make this feel like it's super historic.
Marked cars
Also, let me know if the levels are not right with me talking and them talking. Like if it's
really
too
cut
difficult
down on a lot
to
of the
hear
opportunity for anyone
both.
to sneak into that that wood line and conduct some mischief. So this is only going to get worse as we get closer to the election.
But here's what I want to say.
People who are compelled to act, whether
this
they're
is
lone
not without
actors
precedent.
Or people who are driven by foreign intelligence
Gerald
organizations,
Ford
are getting
had an assassination attempt,
compressed time period,
and then
conduct the
within
actions
17
or operations
days
that they want to conduct. And so
17 days, there's another assassination
this is the fourth
attempt.
Quarter.
So this isn't even that like
security,
in terms of history.
Element needs to be taken out of the toolbox right now and put
17
to good
days.
effect.
Yeah, I suspect that security is going to be really, really tightened at every event that Trump is going to be doing from now until November, all these public events that are going on, given these past 2 assassination attempts. Everyone, thank you very, very much. We, of course, are going to continue following all this major breaking news. The FBI says it is investigating this apparent assassination attempt of Donald Trump down in Florida. The former president,
the guy didn't
thank
fire.
God, is safe, now back at his Mar-a-Lago home. Caitlin.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us as we've been following this breaking news, Wolf, for the last several hours. Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Our breaking news coverage is going to continue. Stay here with CNN and Aaron Burnett.
All right, they're going to keep going. I want to show you this while they reboot. I want to hear what you think.
This election is not going to be close. I know. I'm putting myself out there on a limb. It's an unpopular opinion by everybody, by the media, by Republicans, because they're deluded into thinking that Trump has way more support than he does, and Democrats because they're traumatized by 2016 and they don't want to see that happen again. And they want to make sure the enthusiasm stays high. And the polling is close, right? The race is not as close as the media and the polls would have you believe. The wheels are falling off the Trump campaign. He's palling around with a right-wing nutjob conspiracy theorist, Laura Loomer, who is so out there that Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks she's too far out there. By the way, she's a 9/11 truther, which she thinks 9/11 was an inside job, and Trump brought her to the 9/11 memorial service at Ground Zero. Talk about the disrespect. But the moment we'll probably look back to as the moment that it all jumped the shark was, they're eating the dogs. So why do the polls say they're so close, Dale? Because the polling is so unscientific now. They're not picking up a representative sample of the actual voters. And we know that there are Republican polling firms that are flooding the zone with their polls to make it look like it's closer than it really is. There's other data not being factored in, like Taylor Swift getting 400,000 people to register to vote in one day. And all the young people that registered to vote once Kamala Harris took the ticket. These people aren't getting picked up in polls, I can tell you that right now. And then you look at the amount of money that the Harris campaign has versus the Trump campaign and where and how they're spending that money. Kamala Harris is going to win by 10 million votes in the popular vote. And we're going to see states flip that people never saw coming. Bookmark this video. We'll talk about it in a month and a half.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know who the fuck that guy is. I do not know if I believe that. Who is this guy? He's a comedian. All right. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. I don't think I buy that, to be honest. I think it's going to be very close. Here is my fear about the election, is that it's actually going to be decided by one state. And that Donald Trump is going to do everything he can to make it so that the Supreme Court is the one who decides the election. That is my fear. I would love if it was like how that man just described it. It does not feel like that's what's going to happen. That's not what it feels like. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. He could be wrong. The thing is, no one knows. What's the most important thing you could do this election? Register to vote. Make sure you're registered. Tell your friends and family to register to vote. Tell your friends and family when election day is and why it's important that they vote for Kamala Harris. We all need to vote. We all need to vote. So I don't think this is fake. I just think it was completely irresponsible the way that they handled it, and I think they did it in a way to make it seem like it was something that it's not. That's what I think. Like with this thing. Hi everyone joining. We're just waiting for this commercial break to be done. I suppose we could go to another. Let's try this. Let's see, what are they on?
Police, where he was taken into custody, also found at the scene where shots were fired were weapons hanging on a fence. This comes just over 2 months after the former president survived a first assassination attempt during his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Joining us now to discuss, the host of Hannity, Sean Hannity. Sean, thank you so much for being here tonight, especially because you've been talking to the former president tonight and his family. How are they doing?
Well, President Trump is fight Trump. I mean, it's interesting. I had gone to breakfast with Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff is a brilliant developer, businessman in Florida, a good friend of mine, good friend of the president's. We went to breakfast. He was trying to get me to go play golf with him. I really don't play a lot of golf. And I said, thank you, but I got work to do. And anyway, so he called me not long after this happened, and I spoke to him numerous times.
Listen, if you don't want to hear what Fox is saying, that's fine, but I want to know how they are talking about this. And if you don't want to see that, fine. But I want to hear how Fox is talking about it, because this is how 40 million people are going to hear about it.
Duty in he couldn't say enough in terms of praising them and the people around the president and how quickly they were to jump on him, get him in a very fast golf cart that was secure, and get him back to safety immediately. Then Steve followed. When Steve walked back into the clubhouse, he heard the president asking, "Where's Steve? Where's this person? Where's that person?" And once the president was assured that everybody was safe, then he started joking and he said, "Oh, I was shooting an even round and I had a birdie putt and I really wish that I could have finished that hole." And that was how he handled it. But we've learned a lot since then. And I want to say this through the prism of my whole, so many members of my family, extended family, have been in law enforcement. My own parents connected to law enforcement in different capacities. And I love the Secret Service, and the guys that were there with the president were amazing.
Former president,
Steve Witkoff will explain all of this on my show tomorrow night. However, when we were watching that press conference with law enforcement today, one thing really I found alarming and glaring when they pointed out that the shooter with an AK-47 and a scope was 300 to 500 yards away from where the president was, and that there were
former president,
and that there was a
fired president,
through the fence, and he had two backpacks,
one-term president, twice impeached.
He probably wanted to videotape or memorialize what he was doing, which is scary too. We'll find out, I'm sure, more in the days to come. But this is my problem, and this goes back to Butler, PA, and if you remember earlier in the week, Connecticut Senator Blumenthal made the comment, when Americans find out what happened in Butler and the level of failure that took place there, and originally we're told that it was a sloped roof that made it impossible for the Secret Service to safely secure the area, and it turned out that it was not a sloped roof. And when we find 300 to 500 yards away from not only a former president, as they said, but a top presidential candidate, is unacceptable. And you have to secure the perimeter, because if anybody knows anything about shooting, you know that that is the equivalent pretty much of a layup, or if you're a golfer, that would be a 1-foot putt that you're not going to miss 99% of the time. And that in and of itself is a problem. And what they said was, well, he's not the current president. No, but he's a former president who just survived a recent assassination attempt, and he's the current presidential candidate for the Republican Party, and we have an election in 51 days, and we need answers. Why didn't they have either security cameras? Why didn't they have motion detectors? Why didn't they have somebody outside on the street where the shooter was located looking in on this? I do applaud the snipers that identified that there was somebody that had a gun and took their shots. We don't have all the details yet, but when those details become available, I think it'll be very revealing. But somebody in this position, this is a security failure again. And there's really no other way to put it. And I don't know why. I'm sure we'll get answers in the days to weeks to come. This interim report that Congress is going to put out, if it is as Senator Blumenthal, the Democrat from Connecticut, describes as, Americans will be appalled and shocked by what we learn in terms of the security failures in Butler.
I don't think we can say
how people are going to react
until
to what happened here.
Like, we just don't know this guy's motives.
Answers tonight, Alicia, and by the way, and Charles and Joe and everybody there. And I got to be honest.
Yeah, he killed the news. I mean, the news cycle got killed.
Just to give you a little bit of detail as to what happened when the shooting happened.
I don't think they
Steve Witkoff
organized
described it to me
something.
this way.
That's not what I think.
Confirmed the story. They heard pop, 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 pop. They knew it was a gunshot. Immediately, within seconds, the president was on the ground, covered by brave Secret Service agents that did their job, protected the president, immediately got him out of the area and to safety. And then
we don't know who this guy is. We don't know his political allegiance. We don't know anything about him.
In terms of how quickly they responded here. But to not have that perimeter with a fence, a treed area, and somebody has the ability to get within that range of...
Christy asks, why is Trump so hated? Does anyone want to answer for Christy?
Struck by the same thing that you were struck by during that press conference, talking about the lower level of security in this case. And it made me think immediately the former First Lady, especially given that powerful video she released, I think it was last week sometime.
Why is Trump so hated?
Her concern for her husband. In your conversations with the former president today, did you get a sense, did you talk to any family members, or did you get a sense about where they are on all of this?
Have you met him?
Well, it's interesting. I did talk to Eric Trump, and both Eric Trump and Don Jr. happen to be superb marksmen. And Eric Trump, it just so happens, was telling me earlier today.
Okay, I actually can't deal with that. Let's go to her.
Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. There have been a number of measures taken all over Donald Trump's home in West Palm Beach, but it's unclear whether or not that extended to the golf course as well. And what I'm talking about is street closures. There are several streets all around that Mar-a-Lago resort. That
Real talk, I would not hate Donald Trump if he would. I mean, I don't know if I hate anyone, right? Do I hate him? I hate that man. Yeah, sure. But I would not hate that man if he would have just conceded the election like an adult. If he would have just said, sucked it up and said, I lost, fair and square, good job, President Biden, see you in 4 years, and just like been a big boy and went to the inauguration and wished the president well. Instead, he's caused so much chaos, division, and hate, and disdain for democracy in our country. So he can go to hell, as far as I'm concerned. He can go to hell. If hell exists, I hope he ends up there. Because what he has done to our country is abhorrent, just because he couldn't admit that he lost. What a fucking baby.
Officials who I've spoken to, just because if you remember what happened in Butler, there were so many questions as to why the Secret Service didn't engage sooner with the shooter. It appears, based on the preliminary knowledge here, that they did engage and engage very quickly with this shooter, with the suspect, who was then able to get away before being apprehended by law enforcement. But there are still a lot of questions here as to how exactly they can keep this man, the former president, safe, given these circumstances in this truly unprecedented situation where just in a span of 2 months, a former president and the current Republican nominee has had 2 assassination attempts on his life.
All right, Kristen, thank you very much. And as you get more, and certainly on the state of the former president's mind, you're going to be back with us, of course, and nothing could be more important than that. I mean, some tried to shoot you twice in nine
for
weeks.
The president's mind,
just to think about this on a human perspective, what this means for what
100%. It's been reported that he has PTSD from this happening.
Our law enforcement analysts are with us now,
and he has no ability to process trauma. And I think part of the chaos that is happening within the campaign around him is around this unprocessed trauma around almost dying. And I don't think this is going to help.
Some of the details about the suspect, who I just want to make sure everyone knows, since we are talking about the second assassination attempt, it appears in 9 weeks, that this individual is in custody. Right, the Secret Service engaged him. He tried to flee, but he is in custody, so they're able to question him. At least from my understanding, he hasn't said anything as of yet. But what are you learning from your sources about this individual and why he was there? To Kristen's point, if no one else knew Trump for sure was going to be in the state of Florida, never mind at Mar-a-Lago on the golf course, was he just sitting there every day waiting for this opportunity, or did he have some sort of information?
Well, what we know is
that was a sarcastic question.
Ryan Wesley Ralph.
Everyone say sorry, Christy.
A 58-year-old individual who
I thought Christy was a Trumper.
Has worked as a construction worker in North Carolina.
Christy
is in Florida today.
I thought you were MAGA.
He was arrested driving a car that was registered to what we believe is his daughter, and how did he know to be on that golf course, on that perimeter at that time, Christy, on this day?
Well,
is one of the key questions that the FBI and the Secret Service, from a protective intelligence standpoint, are
apparently
the
shooter never fired.
But there is one.
The shooter never fired. So
Kristen Holmes, who's done incredible reporting throughout the day on this,
is that an assassination attempt?
Tells us
I don't know.
It's not on a public schedule. It is, not known to people that where he's going and when. But as she also reported, when he moves, it's a big cavalcade of cars. So if you see it going from one place to another, you can have an idea. But more relevantly, in today's age, and we experienced this in New York City, protecting presidents, where we would do something called an OTR, an off the record. It wasn't on the schedule. They would go to dinner at a place. It would be some private meeting where people spot that on social media and they put it out. So if he was in the area lingering for a long time, looking for that information, they'll have to go back through social media. And did somebody say, I'm on the
By the way, if you haven't liked the live, please like the live. That is like the best way to help
that's possible
the live stream.
We don't yet know whether when they scour
and if you're not
that,
subscribed, consider subscribing.
Jonathan Wecker, we also don't know exactly the distance, for example, right now between the Secret Service agent who spotted that barrel, AK-47, the barrel sticking through that chain link fence with the scope, the distance between the agent and between that gun, whether they saw it with the naked eye or not. We know that this all went down very quickly, that gun was already, through the chain link fence waiting. So, Jonathan, what is your view from what we know right now? It's limited, but that's what we know about the actions of that Secret Service agent.
Well, I think it's important to understand that the Secret Service has been dealing with protectees that play golf for a very long time. And they've curated over the years the protective model. And what I mean by that is if you think about a golf course, it's a very large area of real estate to secure. So what they've done is they basically create a moving bubble around the protectee, in this case, the former president of the United States. And in that bubble, you have what we've seen numerous times, which is the protective agents, the women and men that surround the former president. But
Matt, oh my gosh, thank you for the $50.
And what you have is you have agents that flank to the left.
Thank you so much. Everyone, please give a round of applause for Matt in the chat. That's so nice of you.
Further. And you have agents that are in advance. And I don't want to divulge.
Let's get some claps in the chat.
That is,
I'll start it off.
Would reveal too much of the security plan. But there are agents that go out in advance, and they are literally specifically looking for this type of threat. That would-be assassin that's lying in wait, trying to take advantage of cover and concealment to then launch an attack. And that's what we had today. One of those agents came across, identified the threat, and immediately reacted to it. Again, averting a potential disaster had the president come close enough to be within sight of that would-be assassin.
Juliet, we don't have the exact distance from the shooter to the former president either. We have a range of 300 to 500 yards, which with a scope, of course, is that can be shot. We all understand that. But what does that mean to you, Juliet? That this was close enough from the perspective of somebody who knows what they're doing with a scope and a gun can shoot and succeed at hitting their target from that distance. And that's the distance we're talking about. When we're just trying to understand here how close this actually came to happening.
Well, we're also assuming that at the moment that the Secret Service agent engaged him was the moment that he intended on shooting Trump, because we don't know if Trump would have gotten closer to him, just given the layout. If you look at the layout in terms of where he was. So the engagement may have happened at a time when he was further from Trump than the assassin essentially intended, and regardless,
I don't think it's fake. Let's not be conspiratorial.
The challenges of setting up legitimate security perimeters when you have people who are targets, who are former presidents and presidential candidates, and you simply
it's good he has no party
have a
affiliation.
Perimeter that encompasses all of that area in Florida. So this was incredible work by the Secret Service. It appears at this stage, probably a lot of luck, but also the assassin's intent of when engagement or when the shots would have been fired may have been later. And we
type 1 in the chat if you think it's real. Type 2 in the chat if you think it's fake. 1 in the chat if you think it's real. 2 in the chat if you think it's fake.
Going to be at that stage.
Right. All right. Well, we're all going to be returning in just a moment, and of course, the fact that this individual is in Ryan Wesley Routh is in custody is hugely significant.
Kind of
he
split.
had an escape plan, right? So he was planning on getting away, as he indeed tried to do when the Secret Service engaged him. Our breaking news coverage continues here on CNN on the back of this appearing assassination attempt on former President Trump on a golf course today. We will be back here on CNN in just a moment.
Pretty split. Oh, someone says 8. Really funny. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Let's check Twitter while we're on commercial break. Okay, let's see what we got here. Sam, thank you for the $49.99. Holy cow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Thank you. I do not do these for the tips or super chats, but they're very appreciated. So thank you. But do not ever feel like obligated to do it. I wrote a similar tweet before, and I think this is true. The people who still joke about Paul Pelosi almost being killed are very upset about jokes about Trump. Same hypocrisy, same or different day. Not one of them will ask why a psycho with what appears to be a long criminal record had a higher powered weapon at all. Glad the Secret Service did their jobs. There's no place for political violence ever. Literally. They can save it about joking about this. This is what I said in my video earlier. We'll take the hit on cat eating to keep immigration in the news. I knew that's what this was about. I knew it. That they don't care about the cat eating and that it's wrong or not. They just want immigration to be in the news. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter how it's there, whether based on a lie or based on truth, as long as it's in the news. I knew that's what it was about. All right, Peter Baker says, Trump was on the course a few hundred yards away when the Secret Service spotted a person concealed in the bushes and opened fire. The suspect fled in a vehicle and was taken into custody during a traffic stop. A rifle with a scope was found in the bushes. Okay. Where did the other tweet go? A law enforcement official identified the suspect as Ryan Wesley Routh, 58 of Hawaii. Ruth was interviewed by the New York Times in 2023 about Americans volunteering to aid Ukraine. Ruth had no military experience, said he had traveled there after Russia's 2022 invasion. Interesting. Okay. It's not the rhetoric of the Democrats. It's the damn guns. Another batshit kook with unfettered access to any type of firearm. That's the story. Trump is going to win again. It's just like 2016. The people who voted for him in 2016 are trying to shoot him. Oof. Perseverance person says, thank you for $20. Golden opportunity for Trump to milk the base. Yes, I mean, that seems to be what he's doing. It seems to be what he's doing. He sent out a fundraising email about this. Let's focus on the important. I like this guy. Let's focus on the important news this weekend. Donald Trump and his degenerate running mate has spent the last week inciting pro-Trump extremists to terrorize a town in Ohio based on what even Vance now admits were lies. Schools are disrupted. Local GOP. Oh.
And welcome back to our breaking news coverage here on CNN. At this moment,
I'm going to finish this. Local GOP office holders, including the mayor and county supervisors, are begging Trump to stop terrorizing their town. This all happening.
Former president is safe, according to several people in his orbit. He has, of course, posted on social media the assassination attempt, and we understand involving an AK-47. It happened just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. Trump was at a place he would consider to be
999 people on the live.
Safe private area.
Could it not just be 1,000?
In West Palm Beach. He is now back at Mar-a-Lago. That is where we find our own Carlos Suarez. And Carlos, what are you hearing and what are you actually seeing there from where you're standing in terms of security?
Well, Aaron, we are still getting some reaction from the Trump campaign. Just a few minutes ago, the campaign put out a statement on behalf of the former president, a fundraising email that says, quote, "My resolve is only stronger after another attempt on my life. I will never slow down. I will never give up. I will never surrender." Those words, again, coming from a fundraising email that the Trump campaign just released a few minutes ago. As you noted, Aaron, we are outside of Mar-a-Lago. That's about a 10 to 15-minute drive from the golf course where this incident took place. Now, it is important to note that the security measures that we're seeing outside of Trump's
fucking opportunity to raise money, does he?
They were put in place after the first attempted assassination of the former president in Pennsylvania. Southern Boulevard, which runs from the mainland and connects out to Palm Beach, that remains open at this hour, though there are 2 security checkpoints that are being manned by the sheriff's office, though deputies are at this hour not searching any cars trying to cross over. There is a small island between the mainland here and Palm Beach that is normally open to the public. Folks are able to park in this lot here, and they're able to get a look at the Mar-a-Lago property. However, that has been closed. Now, even if you're able to get out onto Palm Beach, you're not really able to get anywhere near Mar-a-Lago because South Ocean Boulevard, which runs the perimeter of this property, was closed.
1,000 people on the live stream. Thank you for joining us.
Assassination in Pennsylvania, and so folks, only folks that live in that neighborhood or are visiting someone that lives in that neighborhood
think you just fell out of a coconut
able to
tree?
get out from the mainland across the intercoastal here. Again, as I noted, we're about 10 to 15 minutes from where this incident took place at the golf course. But even for us to get from that original location here, it took us a bit longer because, as my colleague Randy Kay has been reporting all night, several streets have been closed around the golf course as this investigation unfolds, and so it was difficult.
Well, what's he doing? All right.
Where this golf course
what is he doing golfing
one final note. The last
in an
time
unsecure area if they can't guarantee his safety?
Benjamin Netanyahu's visit with the former president here at Mar-a-Lago, that was in late July, and we saw these types of measures already in place. We're told that it appears that
thank you, Ronald.
Trip from the golf course to his property here.
Do you know what I mean?
Earlier this afternoon may have been held up a bit because law
what are you
enforcement
doing?
wanted to make sure that it was not only safe for him
they should say
to
no to
leave the
him.
golf course,
Like, sir,
but
it's
of
not
course,
safe.
They had to make sure that the route that they were going to
Oh my gosh.
again, only 10 to 15 minutes
Alan.
from where we are, was safe enough for the former president.
Alan Mitchell just gave $100. That is so much money. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's read this. Been with your live stream since Tim Walz at the HRC. Best political stream I've ever discovered. Love your vibe, bro, and you'll be supporting your we'll be supporting your 3 candidates for November. Oh, that is so nice. Makes me emotional. Thank you.
Stop this one. So I don't know, and I can't get into the monitor.
I've only been doing this for 3 months, so.
But if he had seen this rifle,
I've been learning on the job, and it means a lot that you guys appreciate it.
Taking that shot.
Thank you.
I don't know if he would have. I think the heightened alert, and this is real. This is people are going to take assassination attempts. I think played into this, and it stopped it. But what I also think is your last Juliet mentioned. I think that he caught him early.
I love you guys. Oh my gosh!
Advance agent
Please.
about a hole ahead of the president, and when looking at it, he didn't have.
I talked to my therapist about all of you.
Ceramic plates on, which tells me he was looking at an encounter with law enforcement. He didn't have.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 3 months.
On the thing.
I started at 0 subscribers.
As a former sniper, scope check. So you want to put your weapon where you're going to shoot from. You want to see your.
Tamara says, "We really do appreciate it, and you're wonderful. You're not obnoxious like all the other ones. You're sweet and polite, and your heart is good, and you have angels behind you in the room." Oh my gosh, that's so nice.
No, so those ceramic tiles in the back.
You're making me cry.
What you're saying is that.
I think because you're so sincere, you want to do this proper. You're such a good person and good looking. Well, thank you. That's why you're doing so well. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, yes, because the ceramic.
I am crying.
Like
on the brink of tears.
The reason that you put ceramic plates on is for rifling.
Thank you all.
They stop rifle rounds. So he is looking for an encounter. Why else would you bring it and put it there if you're not like going to put it on for the event? So I think he was preparing. And he was looking out the chain link fence that he was on and seeing what his scope can see. Because your scope, when you start looking through a scope, it really brings down.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm probably going to hit 200,000 subscribers by the end of the month.
He could actually engage the former president. And the Secret Service agent sees his
barrel
sticking out, which again is a bad sniper tactic. You never allow your barrel to go past something. But he did that. Secret Service agent sees it and engages him right away. I don't think he would have engaged him right away if it hadn't been for Pennsylvania.
Denise says, you care about us. You ask us what we would like. You make us feel important and care. Well, I do. This is not, you know, the way I look at it, all this is that this is about, not about me.
All right, Rob,
I'm a vessel with which I am bringing information and analysis to all of you.
Exactly what
this is about you.
As the story keeps developing. Thank you, Rob. We'll be speaking to you shortly. And next, we're going to be talking to a reporter who has incredible sources inside Trump's innermost circle. He'll be with us next in Florida near Mar-a-Lago. We'll be back with that.
That's probably Mark Caputo.
News coverage continues.
Mark Caputo, who I'm friends with. No big deal. That's probably who that is. All right, let's keep going. Now is the fun. All right, we can put on music while we're waiting. Is it weird listening to this music while we're reading about this crime? All right. The would-be assassin's politics. Based on a scan of his wacky Twitter account. Oh, he's got a Twitter account. Holy shit. This is his Twitter account. All right, we'll look in a sec. Voted for Trump in 2016, became a big Tulsi guy, wanted Biden to beat Trump in 2020, wanted Vivek Nikki ticket in 2024. All right, so this guy is not a Democrat. All right, this is his Twitter account. All right, wait. What should we search for on his Twitter account? This is his Twitter account. And another one. Oh, this guy is kind of nuts. Come on, please respond. I'm willing to fly to Ukraine and fight and die, but I need someone out there to help with me, media cutters, so we can get thousands of Ukraine to fight. Oh yeah, this guy. Look at this. Look at all these tweets in one day. I don't even tweet that much. Search vote? Okay. Someone said just search vote. How do I search on Twitter, not on the phone? They make it so complicated. I think I have to do this. It's like advanced search. from this account. We want the word vote. Nothing. Striked out. Nothing a vote. Taylor Swift. Okay. Nothing. MAGA? Nothing. Putin. Putin. Oh! Ding, 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 ding. Kathleen's been here for a month. Let's get a round of claps and applause for Kathleen, who's been here for a month. Sam with the $49.99. Thank you so much. Oh, there's a lot of Putin stuff. Thank you so much, Kathleen and Sam. Thank you for your support. Kathleen, thank you. Sam, thank you so much for the $49. The music isn't that loud. I'm like looking at the levels. It's not loud. It's super low. And it's not annoying. It's cute. He tweeted at Secretary Pete, no. I hope you can transport weapons to Ukraine to arm every citizen there. We didn't make sure they win against Putin. I am willing to fly to...
Mark Caputo is with me now for our breaking
Mark
news.
Caputo is right.
He is a national political reporter for The Bulwark, obviously with incredible sourcing inside the Trump campaign and Trump inner circle. So, Mark, what are you hearing on the back of this? You know, honestly, he's on a golf course. He's on his golf course. He's on a Sunday afternoon. He's in what he would consider to be as much of a safe place as he could be. And this happened. So what are you hearing of their reaction, his reaction?
I'm not hearing what his reaction is specifically to this right now. But what I'm hearing from people who know him is that there is a tremendous amount of anger in Trump's inner circle, outer circle on social media. And there was already considerable amount of paranoia, and that's only going to increase. You know, second assassination attempt.
Paranoia.
I don't think we've ever seen this before. And there are loads and loads of questions as to how this happened, why he didn't have greater security from Secret Service. And you're going to hear a lot more about that. Who knows in the coming minutes or the coming days.
Cha-ching.
Are you hearing anything about their sense of, you know, who knew where he was going to be? Because we're sort of in this situation now, Mark, where either this guy went there randomly lots of times and maybe Trump came along one day. That's one scenario. The other scenario is that this guy somehow knew that Trump was going to be playing golf on this Sunday afternoon. And that he's obviously not, as a president, he doesn't put out a schedule. So there was no schedule. And in fact, he often is not there. And so, you know, it might have implied some sort of knowledge. Are you hearing anything about that of, you know, I don't know, when the president decided he was going to be here or anything about that?
Two schools of thought. Number one, that falls into the paranoid basket, right? Yeah. How did he know? Mm-hmm. And in talking to local law enforcement, there are questions about how this man knew that. Now, it is true that Donald Trump is somewhat of a creature of habit. He does have a tendency to play golf on Sundays when he's in town. And the question that no one's able to answer yet, and hopefully will be answered, is this person, the alleged assassin, appeared to have been from out of state. How did he drive down there? How did he case the joint? How did he know when the former president would be there and come within his potential line of sight? Just a whole load of questions, and local law enforcement that I've talked to have asked the same questions, and no one really knows. But leading up to this, the former president had been subject to some critical coverage in the news media for stoking some conspiracy theories about the first assassination attempt. And now that the second one came along, it's going to be hard to persuade him otherwise, that there is not some deeper, darker force at work. I'm not saying that there is, but this is just his belief system, and it's only going to be strengthened by the situation.
So you talk about anger and paranoia as two words you used to describe the feelings among those around him tonight. What is the morale situation on the campaign?
You know, generally, despite a lot of the critical coverage of the Trump campaign, his top pollster, Tony Fabrizio, has been on numerous calls up before this, telling Republicans, like, look, my polling, and he is a top pollster, one of the top pollsters in the nation.
Oh, let's pay attention.
Top pollster. It was showing Trump either winning or within striking distance of winning. And they have, at least to me and to others in political circles, have been putting on a very brave face saying, look, we're not that worried. We're going to be able to do this. We're going to be able to win. This is going to have a rally around the chief effect to the degree it wasn't happening anyway, but it was happening. And yes, there's been some internal drama in the Trump campaign with the addition of some new personalities, as well as some of the negative press. But as far as Republicans are concerned, the Trump campaign is concerned, they're all in behind the former president, and you're not going to see that change.
I'm just looking here at the emails, coming in from the Trump campaign. He's saying he's safe, and obviously, money's going to come in as a result of this. We're looking at traffic, by the way, just so everyone understands how shut down it is down there in that area right now. This north of Mar-a-Lago, to get a sense of the complete shutdown that there is right now as we're talking, Mark. But in terms of the fundraising,
should be former President Trump
has been massively out fundraised by the Harris campaign. I mean, 2 to 1. I mean, it's not even in the same ballpark. But you have something like this happen, and just to be real, maybe crass, but I'm going to be real here. He's going to raise money off of this.
He's doing it right now.
Certainly, he's going to raise money off of this, and yes, you could say you're being crass or say I'm being crass, but these are political actors. They're political creatures in a political environment, and politics is the reality. And the other reality is that this is going to change some of the messaging from the Trump campaign going forward. They have been taking a number of shots. There have been a few critical reports on the nightly news about the Trump campaign rhetoric. Well, in the Trump campaign's eyes, and in Trump supporters' eyes, and in Trump's eyes, the Democrats have something to answer for because they've been calling him a threat to democracy, and they've been saying that democracy is on the ballot. This alleged assassin, if you go through his Twitter feed, has an actual line in there.
Ellen, thank you for joining.
He's critical of Trump and how he believes that democracy is on the ballot. So expect them to go on offense.
Alan's a top-tier member. Wow, I think you're like the
we're not
sixth
the ones
one
inciting people to violence. It's these
Thank
other
you so
people
much.
who are trying to kill the former president.
Yeah. All right, Mark Caputo, thank you very much. And if you hear anything new in these next minutes.
All right. Should I text Mark and be like, do you want to come on my live stream right now? I kind of want to do that. All right, so there's a QR code here on the opposite end of the live stream. What that donates to is not to me. I don't get any money, but all the money goes to 3 House candidates that could flip the House. So when Kamala wins, she will have a House that can actually pass her legislative agenda. So if you're on your phone, obviously you can't scan the QR code, but if you're watching on your TV or your computer, you can scan that. I think we've raised like $8,500, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, we were searching. Shall we go back to searching? I want to type in gun. Nothing. Thank you to 1,100 people on here. If you are new to the live stream, hello, welcome. If you type in clap on the chat, it says clap in the chat, but then above me, there will be a clap emoji. So if you're new here, that's a feature of the live stream. Also, we're grateful you're here. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Oh, everyone's trying it out now. All right, let's try. Oops. Let's try another.
The now identified as Ryan Wesley Ruth. Walk us through what we have learned, how the investigation is going, how they're able to piece this together, and more importantly, perhaps the most pressing, outstanding questions right now for the investigators.
Right, so first let's talk about what the police have said, what we know about what they found, which is that he appeared to have been laying in wait for Donald Trump as Mr. Trump was playing golf outside the perimeter of the golf course in the bushes and the foliage, Secret Service encountered him pointing an assault rifle in the direction of the golf course and opened fire. And apparently he wasn't hit. He was able to escape into an SUV, but using license plate readers and other technology, the police quickly tracked down that SUV, pulled him over and arrested him. Apparently was not struck by the Secret Service gunfire, is in custody. They recovered what they described as an AK-47, certainly an assault rifle, some ceramic plates, a GoPro, suggesting he may have wanted to stream or film whatever he was trying to do, and they're calling it an apparent assassination attempt. So those are the bare facts, and they said he wasn't, at last check, he wasn't
thank you for becoming a member. Everyone get a,
things like that.
Please
now,
give a round of applause to John for joining.
But, there's a lot of information that we're going through right now
that really does help,
where it appears that this man had an extensive criminal record in North Carolina with some felony convictions. There is an active social media profile where he is talking about recruiting fighters to fight in Ukraine, on the side of the Ukrainians, may have even gone there himself. We're trying to develop that information. So there's a long history with this person. This is exactly
this man does not
the FBI,
look right.
By the way, is pouring over right now. The digital footprint, all of his accounts. They're using search warrants, which obviously we don't have, so they're going to the providers and they're getting all the internal records to put together a comprehensive profile of this man to try to figure out why he did this. And then, of course, there'll be questions asked about whether all the security steps were taken. I heard you talk to Jake about the question of why there weren't more Secret Service at the golf course, why the entire golf course wasn't off limits. I'm sure there'll be more questions about that as this unfolds, guys.
Ken, let's just be clear for people who've been following this through the course of the evening or might have been seeing it on social media.
Just Jamie became an interim member. Thank you so much for joining.
Was there any reporting that the suspect fired his weapon? We understand he was fired upon by the Secret Service at some distance.
That's right. He was fired upon, and multiple law enforcement officials just have told us that they're not sure at this hour whether he fired his weapon, whether he tried to fire and the weapon jammed. That just seems to be unclear in a fog of war type of situation. But what the law enforcement authorities said was that Donald Trump was 1 to 2 holes behind the location where this suspect was. So Mr. Trump doesn't appear to have been in any particular danger at the moment. But obviously it was a lucky thing that the Secret Service found this person if he was trying to conceal himself in a sniper position in foliage. So that was an important thing that they did that, and they were able to thwart an apparent assassination attempt, even if no shots were actually fired at Donald Trump. Still very, very
Ms. Honey says
serious
apparently
incident. The second,
he was a huge
in a very short period
Ukraine
of time.
supporter and lost his
we spoke
shiz when Trump said
the
he'd
July
sell
13th
Ukraine.
assassination attempt on the former president, Butler, Pennsylvania. But since you have been
That
covering
seems to
this
be-
day in and day out since then, talk to us about what had changed around the former president's security detail, the concerns that they had about being in outdoor spaces, the fact that the president, had been the survivor of an assassination attempt, and whether or not there were likely motivations behind the shooter in Pennsylvania that may lead them to think others may be out there. What have you learned over the course of the last 2 months in terms of that investigation and what it portends for the Secret Service today?
Yeah, well, the Butler situation was obviously a colossal failure by the Secret Service, which is shaking the core of that agency. Obviously, the director resigned.
Well, they shouldn't let him.
About other
They shouldn't let
Secret
him.
Service officers who are retiring in the wake
They
of
shouldn't
a
let
very
him
critical disciplinary
golf if they
report
can't secure it.
about what took place and what didn't happen in Butler. So that was a catastrophic event for the Secret Service. And in the wake of that, they've taken a number of steps, most of which they don't reveal publicly, but a number of steps to augment the security for Donald Trump. And don't forget, even before Butler, they had information that there was an Iranian plot to assassinate Donald Trump. Now, how advanced and how, that plot remains to be seen, but they knew that Iran had aspirations to assassinate Donald Trump. And yet still you have a situation where you heard the sheriff of Palm Beach County saying he didn't have the same level of protection that a current sitting president has. And
Of course not. He's
that's
not a
question mark,
current
right?
sitting
If
president.
you have the former president who's being targeted by assassins, why don't you have the maximum amount of security around that person? That's a question the Secret Service will probably have to answer in the coming days. But there's no doubt. For example, they urged the Trump campaign to stop doing outdoor rallies, and when the Trump campaign didn't want to do that, they put bulletproof glass around Mr. Trump. They've augmented his details. They've gotten different people in there. We've seen more people around Mr. Trump when he's in public places. So they've taken steps. The question is, have they taken enough steps, guys?
Ken, thank you as always, and thanks for your continued reporting tonight. We'll stay close to you on this topic. Ken Delanian, and we'll be back with more just after a short break.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Go from Mar-a-Lago over to the Trump International Golf Course, probably on many occasions. And so realizing you could generally divine a pattern of activity. You could watch for the movement of the motorcade to know when to go over there, and then put yourself in that position at the right time. So my guess is that's probably the most likely version of what we're going to find out once the investigators get into this guy's devices and materials.
And, you know, Steve, I guess just to contrast this with what we saw in Pennsylvania, the shooter there, not only really do we know very little about motivation, history on social, we just don't know much. Shooter also
Exactly.
dead.
Exactly,
Right?
Karen. Vote him out. Don't take him out.
Right? He had
We got to vote him out. You don't want this man becoming a martyr like Martin Luther King or JFK.
So he intended to live, and he did live, and he's
Vote
now
him
in
out.
custody.
Imagine if he died.
Steve, he hasn't yet said anything,
He would
but that could change
he would
at
be
any
with
moment.
us in one way or another for the rest of our lives.
But do
Let
you
us
think
vote
we
him
are gonna
out
get the full
and put him
story
into the
here
trash heap
from
of
him
history.
Under questioning from law enforcement?
And we will. We will.
Boy, you know, when you go in on these kind of interviews immediately after a crime.
Peace Blossom says, can it be November 5th already? I know.
Who wants to brag about everything
Can it just, it's in 50 days. You can do anything for 50 days.
Look what I did. And then there's the other ones who are guarded because they know the consequences. I would suspect, even though this guy tried to escape, that they're getting more information than you would expect. I mean, he knows, you know, the whole thing is up. You know, he probably is got so politically motivated or psychologically motivated that he wants.
We can do
to
anything
tell
for 50
people
days.
about it. And he'll brag about. I found that people. will
Debbie
brag
says,
about
why aren't
how
more
they-
people subscribing to Keith's podcast? He's the best. Well,
They love to
we've got
talk about how smart they
176,000
were.
people subscribed, so that's
This
pretty
guy,
good.
For instance, I mean, before you can shoot somebody like that, before you can ambush them, you need to know where they're going to be. Well, on a fairway, you could be anywhere. But as you know, in golf, you're going to spend a lot of time on the green and a lot of time in the tee box. And so that's where he waited for him.
All right. Well, both, thank you very much. As our breaking coverage continues, reaction here, we're learning now more from the White House. We'll take a brief break, and we'll go there after that.
Well, we can go to the White House ourselves. Let's see what they say. Let's put on this song. White House. All right, well, they didn't post it. I'm sure Joe Biden said it. Wow. Maybe the President of the United States posted it? POTUS? Why? They should have a statement out. No statement out? Oof. Let's see here. Well, I mean, Kamala Harris is a statement out, but not the president. What the fuck? That's not good. I have been briefed on reports of gunshots fired near former President Trump and his property in Florida, and I'm glad he is safe. Violence has no place in America. Okay. This guy says, you called him a threat to democracy and a day one dictator. You own this. What? Bro, he is a threat to democracy. He literally tried to overthrow the Constitution. He has tweeted that he wants to suspend the Constitution. And he says he has said that he wants to be a dictator on day one. She is just speaking fact. And speaking fact, if he doesn't, I mean, I just don't understand. How do you not get that? Let's look at these community notes. Yeah, there we go. Trump himself said he would be a dictator on day one. This account is known for spreading disinformation. It is ranked number 87 on the community notes leaderboard. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Twitter really has become awful. It has become awful. Oof. Ouch.
And we've got to decide whether we want to live like that.
Em and I were chatting about this in the break, that this is a tough conversation because we can't fairly say that our kids can go to school. We were discussing the fact that this alleged attempted assassination, this guy was found with ceramic plates.
Keith Edwards membership.
The reason
Thank you
parents,
so much
viewers
for joining
of
the
our
channel.
show would know about ceramic plates is because increasingly parents buy knapsacks that have ceramic plates in them for their kids because it's ballistic protection. I mean, this is a world we're in that is, it's got nothing to do with political motivations. This is about the fact that we just have a lot of guns, and it's very hard to protect people against people who will use those guns for bad reasons.
Yeah, we're in a kind of protective, defensive arms race, so to speak, right? So the Secret Service is going to probably deploy a lot more technology. You're going to see a lot more drones overhead, and quite frankly, they should be doing that. My county sheriff's department responds to 911 calls first with a drone, because the drone gets to your house before the police can get there, and it tells the responding officers what it sees. We need to see a lot more of that. But look, where does it end? So you extend your perimeter a mile out, you close the roads because someone's playing golf, you've got your drones up, and you've got a plane up, you've got half the sheriff's department and half the Secret Service. Where does it end before we say, oh, wait a minute, what are people using to shoot at each other? That's the larger issue.
Frank, let's just kind of try to assess a little bit the investigation, if we can. There's a lot of questions surrounding the Butler, Pennsylvania shooter, how a motivation 2 months out has not yet been established. There is no hard evidence to say he was leaning one way or the other and what motivated him. How rare is that when you have these types of incidents that are supposed to be, you know, as people have described, generational? Like you're talking about assassination attempts against political figures or certainly a president once every 20, 30 years, and you've just had two in the span of 2 months against the same former president.
I do think we are seeing something develop here, and it's not just the Butler case and perhaps this case, because, you know, we don't have a lot of time to have gone through this particular person's social media, but I'm going to tell you, it's all over the place. Here we go again, right? It's to the right, it's to the left, it's in the middle, and I think we're seeing a trend here where people are more interested in seeking infamy and becoming a kind of celebrity, even post-mortem, than they are about acting out on a political cause or a passion that they have. And we could speak for hours about where that came from, social media, et cetera, but don't be surprised if at the end of the day, we really don't know what happened here. And with regard to motivation, and Butler, PA, look, the FBI is insisting with the media in repeated briefings, very open briefings, look, we cannot assess his motive other than he wanted to do something big. Didn't really matter who he did it to.
Yeah, Evie Pampouris from
That's the thing. Like when they're talking about we need to lower our rhetoric.
And said that, you know, these days the thing that you used to know of as a manifesto, they don't always happen. Yeah. People are whatever it is they're
politically. These probably are not politically motivated.
We're hearing, and that may
like
really
Trump is
help
just a
with
big
what the
target,
information is. But sometimes the GoPro
big targets
is simply
you get a lot of
to
attention.
record what it is you were doing or transmit what it is
motivated
you were doing.
in the traditional
It becomes
sense
hard
of
to ascribe political
attempts.
motivations to some of these shootings these days.
Indeed, and they'll scour and scrub his computers and all his devices and his social media.
Trump is probably mad he didn't get a picture out of it.
Don't be surprised if they find that he researched the Butler shooter and other attempts at assassination, because there is a copycat factor here. There's no question about it. And the more these happen, the more likely it is we'll see another copycat crime, which this could be.
All right, Frank Figliuzzi. Frank, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Another live hour ahead. We're going to speak to Dave Ehrenberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, where today's apparent assassination attempt took place.
And we'll speak to the former CIA director, John Brennan, when MSNBC's live coverage continues right after this break.
Right. Well, folks, that's it for me. Thanks for joining me. Just another strange day in America. I guess we'll learn more as the days go on. I know, I wish we could just have weekends that are quiet. Thanks for being here. Again, the reason why this live chat is here, because this show is just as much about me as it about you. So I want to make sure everything you say is kept here. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for the super chats. We got a couple extra members today. Thank you for the new members. Thank you for I think we got $300. Let me see how much we raised on Act Blue. I think there's a way for me to look. If you guys don't mind, I can look it up real fast. I know how I'll find it. All right, here it is. $8,600. Pretty good. Pretty good. Boop. All right. Well, thanks for being here. I gotta say, I like live streaming. I don't know if I can do it every day. It's a lot for me. So I might have to do it, I think Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, something like that. I think that might be my live stream schedule. Every day was a little much for me. Yeah, don't burn myself out. I know, I was burning out. And I want them to be fun. So I might do Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. But in the meantime, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. It's another crazy day in America, and only 50 more days until it is all over. Jungle D gave 5 memberships. Thank you, Jungle D. Thank you so much. Treasure Jewels, no, you're awesome. Someone just said coconut tree.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Coconut tree mentioned.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
All right, bye, everyone. I will see you tomorrow, and then I'll see you Wednesday, and we're going to try that. All right? Thanks, everyone. Bye.